Are you struggling to write your audit assurance answer? Then this video is for you. I'm Megha Vansali, ACCA and the Indian Qualified Chartered Accountant. In this series of solving past papers of audit, today we are going to be discussing the section B question, where I'm going to be giving you all tips on how to write your long answers, how to look for points in the examination, how to decode your marking scheme, and a lot more, so that you don't find writing answers in your audit examination very difficult. Because I know most of the time students find structuring the answer very difficult in audit. They say, I have understood everything, I know the concept, but when I read the question I get stuck. So if you don't want the same thing to happen to you, then please watch this video till the end. And guys, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like the video and share it with more of your friends. So I am discussing section B of the question. Now the question is practice paper 1 from the CB platform. Now as we have already discussed in all our earlier videos, and if you have not watched them, then please go and watch the question on your section A. So you will get an idea on how to solve your case study based questions. Now the key is always read the question first and then the requirement. So it helps you to understand what points to pick from the question, plus yes, helps you to save time in the exam. Now moving on to this question. So the first part of our next question says, describe 2 methods for documenting the sales system, and for each explain one advantage and disadvantage of using this method. Now this is a very direct question. So there are different ways of documenting any kind of process that you're trying to understand. So we have our flow charts. So you could probably put the entire organization's process in the way of a flow chart. You could put it in a questionnaire form. So in the questionnaire you give client a questionnaire that are you doing these things, and the client says yes or no. So questionnaire is one, flow chart is one, and third is you could take down narrative notes. So whatever the client is saying in terms of processes, you write down these narrative notes. Now advantages, disadvantages of each of them is flow chart is easy to understand because it is in a very diagrammatic format. However, you could miss out on some important information in flow chart. In case of questionnaire, it's again very easy for the client and for you, because you're just giving the questionnaire, he just needs to tick. And the disadvantage is sometimes even if one particular process the client is not doing but is there in your questionnaire and he feels it's important, then he might tick for that. Moving on to narrative notes. Narrative notes is very easy because you don't require any kind of prior experience in terms of preparing a flow chart or preparing a questionnaire. Whatever the client is saying, you're simply documenting it. The disadvantage is sometimes it might be too much in detail and difficult to understand. So this is your ways of documenting and the advantages, disadvantage. Now this is a very direct question. So some part of theory also you need to study well to answer these questions. Now if you look, it's for 6 marks. So 3 marks for each of your process. 1 to explain what is a flowchart, questionnaire and your narrative notes, and 1 mark for advantage, 1 mark for disadvantage. So it's a very simple answer. Now let's move on to our next question. Identify and explain 7 deficiencies in the sales system of Heraclin Co. and provide a recommendation to address each of these deficiencies. Now see, whenever they are asking you these questions on control, you have to remember, are they asking me what is the risk, are they asking me deficiency, and are they asking me what kind of control testing I need to do, or are they asking me recommendation. So be very clear with what is the requirement of the question, because sometimes students tend to mix up all of these. So in giving your control deficiency, they might talk about what controls the client has. When they talk about control recommendation, instead of recommending how to improve it, they'll give steps of control testing. So please have a clarity of what each of these point means. So if you're talking about control deficiency, that means what is the loophole or the gap in the system. A recommendation is how do you overcome this loophole or gap. And then if they talk about control testing, that means what performance would you do to check if the controls is working fine or no. So these are your different things that can be asked. Please write accordingly. Okay. Now let's read the question so that we know how to fill this. Now one key way to kind of answer this question is, as in when you are reading the question, start putting these points here. So you see already this box is given to us. So if I feel this is a point, just copy, paste it here. So your entire answer would have fallen into place by the time you have read the question. Then all you have to do is just elaborate on these points in your own language. Please use your own language in the examination. Now let's read the question. It is 1st July 2015. Herklin Co. is a manufacturer of footballs and is a new audit client of your firm. You are an audit supervisor of Spinalaunch and Co. and are currently preparing for forthcoming interim and final audit for the year ending 30th September 2015. Sales, ordering, goods dispatched and invoicing. Hercules Co. sells football to a range of large and small sports equipment retailer in several countries. Sales are made through a network of sales staff employed by Hercules & Co. But new customer leads are generated through a third party company. Sales staff are responsible for assessing new customers' credit worthiness and proposing a credit limit which is authorized by the sales director. Now this is a problem. Okay. The sales staff are the people who are making the sales. They cannot be assessing the credit worthiness. Now basically there is no maker checker relationship here. So if I am checking if this customer is accurate and can I make sales to him, then I should not be the one making sales to him, because then there could be a problem. If I want to make a sales to him, I will say yes, his credit worthiness is correct. So this is a control deficiency. So simply you can control it. You can copy paste this over here. So your answer gets filled as in when you are reading the question, and then all you have to do is reframe this in your own language. So it gets very easy, you don't miss out on points, and in case you don't have time, then you can just put this point here which is from the question as it is and then move on. Yes, sometimes there could be some kind of plagiarism which is an issue, but with just 1 or 2 point copy pasted is not a problem. And you know, the examiner will understand that okay fine, probably this guy didn't have the time to elaborate this answer, so that's why he's just written the point as it is in the question. So you might get like a half a mark or so. So this will help you in the exam. Next. The sales staffs have monthly sales target and are able to use their discretion in granting sale discount up to a maximum of 10%. They then record any discount granted in the customer master data file. Now again this is a problem, okay. They have their sales target to be met. Now because they want to make their sales target, they can give discount to whosoever they want, which is not correct, okay. There should be some kind of rules or guidelines on whom they can give the sales discount to, or there should be some kind of approval they need to get before they are giving their sales discount. So this is a problem, okay. So I will just copy this point, paste it here, okay. Next. The sales staff visit customer site personally and enter order onto company's online sales order platform on their company given tablet. As the customer order is entered, it is automatically emailed to the customer using the customer's email address on the sales order, as well as to salesperson's official email ID. The sales order number is based on salesperson's own identification number. Now this is incorrect. The sales order cannot be based on salesperson's identification number. It has to be sequentially numbered. Otherwise, how will the company know how many sales they have done? How will they track all the sales? It's going to get very haphazard. Also, then you would not be able to track each sales to your inventory, each sales to the money has come in or no. Always for any particular item, the numbering should be in sequential numbering, and it should be universally same across the organization. So this is a problem here. I hope you guys are following and you're finding the method easy. Yes? Okay, let's move on. The company markets itself on being able to dispatch all orders within 3 working days. The salesperson forwards the order email from his account to the finance department and warehouse dispatch team. As the order includes the customer ID and the sales order details from this, a pick list is generated. Sequentially numbered goods dispatch notes are created and retained in the warehouse system. Sequentially numbered invoices are generated using the pick list for quantities and the customer master data file for prices. Standard credit terms for customers are 30 days, and on a monthly basis, sales invoice which are over 90 days outstanding are notified to relevant salesperson to chase payment directly. Now there is a problem here, okay? The credit system is for 30 days, but only after 90 days you are following up. So why is there that extra 60 days given to the customer? You should be following up after 30 days itself and not after 90 days. So this is your control deficiency. Now if you see, there are only 4 points which we could kind of directly identify from here. Now if you are getting stuck in the exam like this, you don't know what to do, where to go about, look for authorizations. Now if you will see, I could pick out 4 points which I think generally what students would be able to. But how many do we need? We need 7 points. So how do you figure out those rest of the 3 points? Now let's discuss that, okay? So I know this is a biggest problem for all of you students, okay? So please be alert on how I am picking the rest of the 3 points. So always remember, in case of control testing, we are trying to look at authorization. There has to be maker-checker relationship. So whenever there is no maker-checker relationship, there is a problem. That is one. Second, whenever you talk about sales, purchases, you could talk about the finance department on how are they processing the invoice, how are they collecting the payment, how are they receiving the payment. So those points you could talk about. Then in case any staff is being given any kind of bonuses, then in those cases see where their self-interest is involved. So they might be manipulation, so that's why controls have to be put in place. Now looking at those points in this scenario, let's pick the further controls. Okay, so first is the finance department if I have to talk about. Okay, the salesperson forward the order email from his account to the finance department and the warehouse dispatches them. Now it says sequentially numbered goods dispatch notes are created and retained in the warehouse system. Now there is no talk or communication between the warehouse system and the finance department. So the finance department will not know when other goods have gone out and when the invoice has to be raised. So the finance department has to be involved throughout the process, when the sales takes place, when the inventory goes out. So this is a problem here, okay. Then moving on, so if you will see that the sales staff have a lot of targets and they have a lot of access to a lot of things. For example, they record any discount granted to the customer in the customer master data file. Now ideally the sales staff is the one who is giving the discount. He cannot be recording the discount in the customer data file. There has to be someone else. There is no maker checker relationship. There is no authorization. The sales staff can simply record something else also. So this is a problem here. Now the other problem in this question is there is no integration between the sales team, the warehouse team and the finance team. So they don't have a good software or a management which talks to each other. Because how do we make that out? From these two paragraphs, okay, we get to know, see, first the sales staff makes the sales, they generate the sales using their tablet, and they get a copy on their email and one goes to the customer. Now the warehouse team is not intimidated, the finance team is not intimidated. They are intimidated through the sales staff, which is not correct, okay. Now, the last point here is basically, see, it's not a very direct point that you can identify, but with practice you will be able to identify this point. Okay, so this point is basically there is no sync in the system. So, whenever I am doing a sales, I am a sales staff, I create the sales order. One copy comes to me, one copy goes to the customer. I then manually forward this to the warehouse and the finance team. Now, what if I forget to do it, or what if I don't? Then the warehouse team might not be able to dispatch the goods. If I don't send it to the finance department will not be able to recover the money. So there has to be one integrated software which syncs all the system, wherein my sales is synced with my inventory is again synced with my sales invoice that are generated, again synced with my payment collection. So there is no single integrated software to sync all my activities. So that's a control deficiency here. So you could talk about no single software to sync all activities. Okay. So this completes our control deficiency question. I hope you have got a good idea of what is control deficiency, how to identify, how to answer, how to manage your time in the examination. Please try and understand all those points, and if you're feeling stuck, you're getting confused, please try and reach out to me. I will be very happy to help each one of you. Now let's move on to our next question. I hope you guys are following, right? Yes? Yes, that's good. In relation to payroll fraud, identify and explain 3 controls. See, now here they are talking about controls, they are not talking about control deficiency. Control deficiency means loopholes or gaps. Control means what they would have already put in place. You have to identify those 3 controls which the company has already put in place. Okay, so please read the question really well. Herculean Co. should implement to reduce the risk of this type of fraud occurring again, and for each control describe how it would mitigate the risk. Now here basically there is some kind of fraud that has taken place. So all I need to do is I need to identify or state 3 controls which can reduce the risk of these frauds. Payroll fraud. The finance director, Monsi Miserable, has informed you that a significant fraud took place during the year in the payroll department. A number of fictitious employees were set upon the payroll and wages were paid into one bank account. This bank account belonged to 2 supervisors who were married and were both employed by Herculean Co. One had sole responsibility of setting up new joinees in the payroll system, and the other processed and authorized bank transfer requests for wages and suppliers payment. These employees no longer work for the company, and Montes has asked the audit firm for recommendation on how to improve control in this area to prevent this type of fraud occurring again. Herculean Co. operates a human resource department. So basically what has happened, there was a fictitious employee to whom a lot of payment has gone, but it has gone to one bank account itself. Now it's very simple, 3 controls here are very simple. If I have to talk about fictitious employee, whenever there is a new joinee, there has to be a background check. It is very important. So that way you will be able to identify if this new joinee is genuine or no. Now what I mean by background check, to give a simple example, like in case of India, get their Aadhaar, get their PAN card, which is very unique to every individual. So collect all these documents and see in your payroll, have a payroll master file wherein there should be no duplication of your Aadhaar number or your bank details or your PAN card. So that's one way you could eliminate your fictitious employees. Second way is whosoever is onboarding new joiners should not be the person who is processing my payroll, because we know to have controls in place there should always be, guys, what? Yes, a maker-checker relationship. Third, whenever salaries are being processed, the person again who is preparing the salary should not be authorizing it, they have to be two different people, and the person who is authorizing the salary should on a random basis check to which bank account this is going, who are the new joinees during the year, what are their bank accounts. So if you even look at a simple Excel, you could do a conditional formatting and see, if you're having duplicate bank accounts. So those kind of things can be put in place. Then if you have a human resource department like they're talking about here, they can make sure that no two related people are working in the same department. So because they said that the payroll department, the people who were working were married. So basically they were husband and wife, so they could easily manipulate things. So don't have two relatives working for the same set of work. There should be different maker and different checker for the work that they are doing. So I think this is a simple straightforward answer. 3 controls and 3 risk is easy to answer here. Yes, yes, good. I hope some confidence is building up. You're getting good idea on how to answer the question, right? Yes. Now let's move on to our last question. Describe substantive procedure the auditor should perform to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence in relation to Helicon Co's revenue. So this answer is pretty simple. They are asking us for substantive procedures for revenue. It's for 4 marks. Now substantive procedures are procedures which are performed other than test of controls. So we are not going to be talking about control testing, no maker checker relationship. Guys, remember, substantive testing is always number based audit. You are always checking if the number of revenue that's accounted in the financial statement is accurate or no. That is your substantive procedure. Now how do I check if the revenue number is correct? Simple, okay. For revenue there are standard procedures. First one being, what is my month on month sales? Do an analysis that in the month of Jan my sales was, let's say, 1 lakh. In the month of Feb my sales was, let's say, 2 lakhs. Then how is there a 50% jump? So normally the sales would tend to remain the same throughout all my 12 months. So that is one thing you could do. The second thing that you could do is basically, remove sales according to staff wise. So how many sales has been done by which staff, and then see what kind of discount they have given. If the discount is over and above my 10%, then there could be some kind of issue or some kind of problem. So figure that out. Then for my substantive testing, you could do a test of details, wherein on some random basis you're picking out some sales invoice and checking the entire process. That is basically when the sales was done by the sales staff, when was the goods dispatched, because they have said that they normally dispatch within 3 days, when was the payment collected, what are the invoice detail, when was the accounting done by the finance department. So you could check a complete in and out of the transaction. So you could do that for some kind of samples. And then you could also do an analysis of your revenue versus cost of sales. So my cost of sales should not be higher than my revenue, because a lot of discount has been involved in this company. So you could probably talk about these 4 points when it talks about revenue substantive testing. I hope you have got a good idea on how to do your long answers. However, we are going to be solving the rest of the questions in the upcoming video. So please stay tuned till the end. And in case you're looking for your case study based solution, then those videos also we have already uploaded. So you can watch them. And if you require any kind of assistance with your audit examination, you can always reach out to me. I'll be very, very happy to help you. And yes guys, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like the video, do drop in a comment below on how you're finding our audit series, and do share it with more of your friends. And I'll be back with more such content. Till then, take care. See you all.